Decentralized Pictures Talent Cast. I am your host, Matt, and in studio today we have Andrea Berry, Head of Business Development at Theta Network. Thanks so much for being here, Andrea.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. All right, so before we jump into the nuts and bolts of this interview, okay, we got to clear the air on something here. So I saw a tweet last night that said, "This is cinema." Okay, obviously you're a basketball fan, and you do reside in Los Angeles, correct?
I do. I'm not from here. I see where this is going.
Yeah, you probably do see where this is going. And so I saw a couple follow-on tweets after that tweet, and I'm just like, is Andrea a Nuggets fan? I mean, so what's the deal here?
So first and foremost, I'm a Warriors fan. Grew up in the Bay Area, going to all the games. And I was actually, to put it on the map of how diehard I am of Warriors, growing up, we would go and they lost all the time, right? And so in eighth grade basketball, when I played in grammar school, we never won a game. And everybody would always be bummed after, but that's all I knew because the Warriors only lost. And I was like, this is great. Like, I just thought that was normal. But Warriors fans, so since they're out, rooting for the Nuggets because I used to work there back in when Carmelo was there and Chauncey Billups and AI. And every time we got to the playoffs, the Lakers would come to town and Kobe did the Kobe thing and just burned. And it was just so heart-wrenching. So the fact that the Nuggets won in 4 games at the Lakers, and it's a sweep, it was just like chef's kiss. It was just a beautiful night of basketball. I was just so stoked. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. Well, hopefully you don't lose any followers on Twitter or anything that are Lakers fans.
Critic. Well, that's okay. I don't need Lakers fans to follow me. That's okay. But sometimes the Theta community will be like, all she talks about is sports and plants. And I'm like, well, I am a human being. I like things other than Web3.
And there's nice representation for the plants right behind you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. We already know so much about Andrea. This is a good start. Okay. All right. So we got the most important question out of the way.
Yes.
So let's talk a little Theta Network. So tell us about your role as head of business development and a little bit about your background, where you previously worked, and some of the things that you're working on at Theta.
Yeah, so I'm head of business development at Theta. My job focuses on adoption and advocacy of Web3. I do a lot of different things, I guess, as it pertains to business development and growth of the company. It's a lot of fun because it's a new space, but because of Theta's focus on video and video infrastructure or media and entertainment use cases on the blockchain, it complements really nicely from my career history, because while I started working for the Denver Nuggets, it was there that I realized I had to get in digital media tech because it was so antiquated. The way I would go in and interview a basketball player like Kobe Bryant, and it would be on a cassette player. And I'm not that old, where it was a cassette player was like, what are we doing? Then we'd go type it out and then literally use a fax machine to go send the quotes out to Associated Press or Sports Center or USA Today. They would use my quotes in, as their own in the articles. And I just was like, there has to be an easier way. And I became really obsessed with media workflows. So I moved back home to the Bay Area and started working for a video platform called Kaltura. They went public, I believe, 2 years ago. And they're an open source company. So very similar almost to like a Web3 model. Open source is very familiar. And that just blew my mind. And here I thought, I'd work my way up in my career and go back to the NBA. And now I laugh at that cute little dream because I realized the video ecosystem. And I'm lucky that early on a mentor told me stay in video, then you become a subject matter expert. Then it's more rewarding. It doesn't feel like work as much, but then your relationships, which is something I enjoy, they all will come full circle and benefit your career. And so that's happening now. And I guess I went way back to the beginning, but I've gone to a few different video platforms. I've always tried to be very technical in all my roles. And even though I've been in sales traditionally, being technical only helps you believe in the product more. And so before Theta, I was working at Vimeo, and Vimeo was a huge learning process and probably dovetails nicely in a lot of the things we'll talk about today. But at Vimeo, they have such a great reputation with filmmakers, definitely when they started as a company. And I worked on the enterprise side of Vimeo, and I saw the delta of between the filmmaker or creator or a channel owner and the technology. And so I would go in and just empower our customers and educate them so that they could understand all the pieces that go into streaming and what you need to think about. But when COVID hit and all these festivals really suffered, some
Right.
cease to exist to this day, I realized, wow, this is like a huge problem, because here you have a successful film festival, but Vimeo is very competitive in pricing and very easy to use. You still need, technical people to manage the system. You need to sign a 1-year contract for a singular event. That didn't make sense. And an upfront payment commitment that was really difficult. And so I started to feel this pain and said there has to be an easier way. And it wasn't just the festivals, it was any of these OTT streaming channels we powered. So we powered 1,300 of those channels. And I just realized the ins and outs of the pains and the reality of running a successful channel. Anyways, I'll kind of stop or let you ask the next question, but it was like this aha moment when I started interviewing at Theta that Web3 solves so much of the pain that I've been witnessing in my career, but definitely I saw at Vimeo recently.
That's an amazing intro that, someone with your experience, a lot of, well-renowned, well-recognized organizations and a strong track record, of success, and to use that experience and know that you're not just falling into blockchain or crypto, and then you jump onto these platforms because, you want to own a token or you just want to track things on a blockchain, that you're seeking a better path for this industry. So great. Appreciate that. Any desire to go back to the sports space, working for like an NBA team?
Yeah. Well, not working for them, sorry, to be clear, but back to the sports space. Like I have a lot of meetings working with sports teams, internationally, and helping them the same way I approach like these quote unquote traditional media companies, demystifying Web3 and educating them on how they can use it. So in that capacity, I want to work in sports because it's really exciting. There's a lot of space for disruption, obviously. So representing Theta, yes, I want to get sports clients, but working for a team, I'll never be into it unless I'm buying the team, maybe.
All right. Well, you're young, so who knows? Who knows what could happen in the future? Excellent. I love it. Okay. So I know there's a lot of great things happening at Theta. So I've seen a lot of activity around one of your recent NFT drops, Space Junkies. So what, talk to us a little bit about Space Junkies and, what kinds of other drops and, and I saw there's an application process on the platform if you want to do a drop on the Theta network. So really, what's the company focusing? What kind of drops are you looking and are you interested in?
Yeah, I'll answer the latter first. I would say, we're very utility driven. Usually if there's utility behind a project, you're using infrastructure. And since we are a layer 1 blockchain, that's really the goal. Our NFT marketplace is a byproduct of that. But what we like about it is that it helps companies lean into Web3. Like we found that NFTs are a great way for companies to learn about Web3. We have full managed services that we offer. So we're able to empower the company, demystify this. And then that's usually where I'll go start meeting with the CTO and teaching. So I would say, what our focus is for NFTs, it does have a pretty broad range. It's usually around helping companies lean into Web3, or really just helping a brand or a creator have more direct one-to-one relationship with their audience, their fan base, whatever it might be, and helping them solve their problems with Web3. So that's like at a very high level. But what I'll say about Space Junk, which we love as a partner, is they really hit so many of the check boxes that we would prefer to have for all of our projects, arguably. But they really are more than a Web3 animation company. This Toonstar group who's powering Space Junk, they are really, I see them as builders. They're an AI company. They use technology first and foremost, and they're creators too. So the executives came from Warner Brothers and other studios. So they understand the pains and the traditional models and what worked, what didn't work, and why. And so now they've channeled that into Toonstar, this company. And so for us, they launched a subchain, which I'm happy to get into. It's, as something that Theta can power, but this subchain allows them to act as a layer one. So Space Junk, not only is it a show every 2 weeks, but they have, they're building social layers on our layer one, and they now have their own subchain. So they can, it's really boiling the ocean. Like, their IP now is as powerful as a layer one technology company. They can do anything with that. So that's like a really exciting customer because it checks all these nice boxes of showcasing what Theta does.
And you can send a dick punch, right?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
Now it's
it sounds very painful.
Punch. But it's interesting. I didn't learn this till probably the few conferences in with them that I just thought it was a dick punch, period. But it's decentralized inclusive community is what it stands for. Yes.
Thank goodness we clarified that.
Yes. It's really cool. So they've built that social layer now on Theta. Yeah. And again, back to like why we love them is now other creators will be able to leverage what they built for their own future projects. And it's pretty significant when we think of just growing the business and, how we can leverage growth in an organic way.
Love it. All right. So another way cool thing that's happening right now, MediCannes, at the time of shooting this episode, MediCannes Film 3 Festival is happening in an initiative with the squad. So tell us for and I love this because not all of us can go to Cannes. So, to have this experience, to be able to participate and see some features and short film blocks and panel discussions. This is an incredible development. So what inspired your team to roll out MediCannes?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I would say, the squad inspired me to kind of think about this, but it was, we're infrastructure. We're the builders. We're here to empower existing groups and businesses. So that's really our perspective. I won't take any credit, but I'll say I became more familiar with the Film 3 group when I met Jordan at the Film 3 Summit last fall in LA. And I was just very inspired with, they're already doing real shit. They're building, they're creating, they're out there. Julie Pacino raised through NFTs for her feature film. And I was very inspired, not only from the creator side of that group, but also the ecosystem of technology companies that are bubbling up because of this group. And so to me, that was very rewarding. And I learned so much about filmmaking, again, kind of back on my Vimeo track where it was very inspiring. And then, participating on some events with them in the last, since last October, I kind of said to Jordan one day, like, why don't we do kind of like an MVP working towards the Film 3 Summit later this year, but let's do something and build this product together. She's really a starving artist, and here was an opportunity, like, this is your expertise, this is ours. Let's come together and bridge them to create a real tangible product that showcases Theta in a really great way. We have the patent for NFT DRM, so token gating video experiences, and monetizing directly. To me, that was really just this like amazing moment. And then Jordan is the one who beautifully curated it to where it's not just a bunch of content of willing participants. It was really difficult to curate and showcase the right filmmakers for this as the first product to show. Anyways, that's kind of like the backstory. I'm definitely rambling on a little bit because there's a lot there that they're doing that's inspiring, but it's very cool to see it come to life as a 1.0 product. And like I said, at Vimeo, seeing that there's a lot of pain in the film industry around, let's call it festivals in general, not to mention everything else, that this is driving towards a very disruptive solution for them.
Yeah. So hopefully this will be a recurring event every year, I think.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I think this is something we want to productize and allow filmmakers or groups like Film 3 and the squad to run with and have, movie nights, have screenings, like whatever it makes sense for them to leverage and come together And what's exciting too is like the studios are now paying attention to this and getting callbacks from, the people who are super skeptical. Now that they can see this and see the momentum and the excitement, they're paying better attention. And I always joke the studios love to be a first second.
That's a good quote.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of quotes, there was a topic that you discussed on the panel discussion with Jordan Bain from the squad, where you talked about how the Web3 Film 3 community infrastructure can help, and you called it owning your audience through peer-to-peer content curation and consumption. So tell us a little bit more about how we're fostering or trying to build and grow owning your audience.
Yeah, I would say historically, like my whole video career, I was trained I mean this in a non negative way, but I was trained to say, and push these creators to run their own channel and become customers because they should own their audience. And if you're on YouTube and you have a channel or a Facebook group and they shut you down, or for whatever reason you forget your password, whatever happens, how do you go communicate to your audience where to find you next? Like, most cases you don't get their email. And so that's not really owning your audience. So we harped on that a lot in Web 2, and I still stand by that. It's true. But now the next version is really Web 2. You're still dependent on the software vendors, the SaaS companies, to own your audience. And so, yes, you own your audience, but all your content is in one place. Like, it's not fairly distributed, the weight of influence, right? Like, you can't just like pick up your audience and leave the vendor. You're in an annual contract. You've sunk a lot of money into it. Now with Web3, it allows, an NFT or a smart contract, you can't get more intimate in a one-to-one relationship. And so allowing, filmmakers, creators to issue their own NFTs, whether it's, the squad's NFT or a MediCannes NFT, it's providing a one-to-one relationship or communication path with the audience. So like that's, it's a topic I could probably talk about for an hour, but it's just fostering a more intimate and direct relationship where you, the creator, that's like you own your customers and your fan base as you should, and you shouldn't be held hostage or depend on a vendor or a payment type or payment quantity to be able to talk to your customers, send them elsewhere if you see fit.
Yes, appreciate those comments so much, and I think it's a perfect segue to my follow-up question. Is, we're in this space where, and it speaks to a lot of the things that Decentralized Pictures is doing right now as well, where we're creating this new community-driven process where we're looking to the participants on the platform to help choose who the most deserving projects are to receive these financing awards. But there's also an element too where some of the financing awards are being funded by traditional film tube backers, participants, content creators, whatever you want to call them. And so there is kind of a blending happening there as well. So as we creep further and further into this Web3 space, how have the conversations been with you and at Theta with potential customers, other partners, of understanding that, okay, we're not in a place where we can completely abandon film 2, at least not yet. So how can we blend and coexist film 2, film 3, and how are those conversations going with your partners at Theta?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have big studios who are investors, and we are focused on helping enterprises lean into this space. And I think we all live in a Web 2 world. That's a fact. And so, to have a pure Web 3 strategy or solution doesn't always make sense yet. But I would say a lot of times I spend my time with those studio type companies, educating them. And I think the biggest misconception is they feel like they lose control of IP by leveraging this technology. And I'm there to tell them, like, no, unless you want it to be that way, and that Web3 solves the problems you want. I think the best solutions, because we live in this Web2 world, are the ones that are going to use the best of both worlds. That's definitely what the Film 3 group is doing, some heavier than others. But I think that when I think of film 2 versus film 3, and I'm not a filmmaker, so I'll caveat that, but I see film 3 as an evolution of film 2. So it's not something that will replace the industry and kill off everybody who's not using film 3. I mean, in the long term, we'll probably be saying this about film 4, film 5, but I do think that it's an evolution of what film 2 is, and it's solving problems. Like any evolution of change, it's solving problems for the people that are driving the demand. So that's the way I look at film 2 versus film 3, is that it doesn't have to be competitive. It's more of, an evolution. It's like change, like we saw with Blockbuster and Netflix. Do you want to be on the sinking ship that we all know has serious pain points for everybody involved? Or should we try to lean in and learn about something new that can help solve problems and make us a better business?
Excellent. Andrea, thanks so much for being on the TALNT Cast. This was an insightful interview. Lots of nuggets, lots of information to take in, and it's going to be exciting to see where this goes. But it sounds like Theta is well on its way, and good things are happening in your space. So, and congratulations with MediCannes. I can't wait to watch more content.
Good. I appreciate the support, and just appreciate all the support from DCP and the Film 3 group. It's been fun, and I look forward to future success.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that are watching that are new to Decentralized Pictures, be sure and check us out at decentralized.pictures. There's some good funding rounds in place right now. We have the Roman Coppola's That Film I Made Award. We have Andrews Bernard Finishing Funds Award that's supported by Steven Soderbergh, and then also the iPhone Filmmaking Initiative Award. And be sure and follow us on all our social media channels as well. So thanks again for watching. Andrea, take care.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Bye.